What is going on, everyone? It is Rob and Jonny here for a surprise episode 34 of the MMArcade podcast. Rob, what's going on, brother?
Not much, mate. It is a surprise episode because you can see the boxes behind you. Dude,
I know.
He's got most of his house in boxes, but we were messaging yesterday and the card was so crazy.
Good,
it's like,
bro.
how can't we talk about it?
It honestly, from start to finish, and that's not even talking about the prelims, but the main card, I had such a good time watching that, man. So we were like, dude, look, I know I'm literally moving tomorrow. Big truck is coming to our place, but we can smash one out. This might be a shorter episode than normal, but if you enjoy the surprise episode, please subscribe if you are new to the podcast. But we are going to be doing our summary and rundown of UFC 299. Let's go in reverse order, starting off with the main event. Sean O'Malley defeating Chito by unanimous decision. Bro, what did you think of this fight? It was pretty one-sided.
Mate, it was a landslide.
Yeah.
Sean was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Dude, not only was he striking on point, and I mentioned this in my predictions, that his spacing is so good. And
so
obviously
good.
He's got long reach. He's a tall guy for the division, but I think his arms just lead that. But his eyes, his instincts, and his spacing just lead him to be able to shoot, to be able to strike and throw punches and fire off lefts and rights and be creative from the outside whenever he wants. Whenever he wants. And I will say on top of that, it looked like his speed was a notch higher. I don't know if that was because we're contrasting him with Vera, who he was fighting, but he looked faster as well.
Dude, he was so much quicker than Vera. I think you're onto something there. I think the speed comparison made Sean look faster than he's ever been. I do want to give some credit to Vera, even though he was pretty outclassed for the entirety of the fight. What is his face made out of? Like granite?
Oh, dude.
That knee should have knocked out anyone else. Anyone else.
Mate, not to mention the amount of left hands and right hands he took.
Oh.
His head is just, he has a head, man. And we knew this going in. And I will give him props.
Yeah.
He's a dog, man. He's not going anywhere. But unfortunately, it was not his night. He got completely outclassed.
I don't know what his strategy was because, I think it was in the fourth and maybe at the start of the fifth or so when he just engaged in that dogfight, went forward a little bit more and threw caution to the wind. That was the only way he had to accept there was a chance that he was going to get knocked out and fight like that, because every time he was scared and running away, and it looked like he was going into his shell every time Sean went forward. He was not winning the fight that way, especially when he lost the first 3 rounds. He had to just go crazy with it. And I thought maybe he could at least get the last 2 rounds, but Sean just completely outclassed him.
Yeah, I thought, like you said, what was it? Was it the third and fourth? He had moments of bringing the dog in the fight. Yeah, I think that was his game plan, to make it like that, to make it a dog fight. But he just couldn't get his rhythm because Sean was on him like a rash. And a lot of things I think a lot of people don't understand about spacing. It's that if you control the spacing, which is something fighters always try to do, but if you control it as well as Sean was doing, whilst even in the moments he was moving back, Chito was in danger, and that level of threat is exhausting. You can't find openings. You can't find timings because the spacing honestly was perfect. You could see in the third round and the fourth round when the fatigue was starting to set in to Sean, that there were moments when he kind of relaxed a little on his spacing, and that's when Chito took advantage of it. But Chito couldn't find his rhythm at all because Sean just had absolute control of that spacing, the creativity, the speed, the timing. It was just everything almost on point. And I will say, Sean, I think the thing that I was most impressed about throughout the entire fight was he was switched on from start to finish. Okay. Yeah. Sean's output was phenomenal. He honestly, and I like Vera a lot. I think he's a great fighter, and I think he's beaten a lot of good dudes.
Yeah.
But Sean outclassed him for 25 minutes, and Sean was on the entire time, and he treated Marlon Vera like a punching bag to some degree.
Yeah,
like he was throwing high volume, big, like a lot of shots for 25 minutes. 25 minutes. There wasn't really any lulls in the fight. For 25 minutes, Sean was doing that, and that's exhausting physically for one. But more importantly, it's exhausting mentally because you can't switch off against a dangerous dude about Vera who's just waiting for you to give him an opportunity. You can't switch off for a second. And Sean didn't. He just didn't. And, mate, that was impressive. That was very, very impressive.
I kind of suggested this in the last episode, but does that just show this fight was probably a mismatch from the beginning? We've talked a lot about their previous fight and how it was, especially in hindsight now, incredibly lucky what happened to Sean's nerve in his leg, right, when he got kicked there. And then they made this fight because that was the loss that Sean had. He wanted to kind of make it up, whatever. There was a good story behind that. But in hindsight, someone like Merab should have been in that spot. Would that be fair to say? Because it was like all rounds, bro. Vera did not have a single round. Even in the round, like round 4, where he did the best he did, that still didn't go to him. He pretty much lost everything. Yeah,
and like I would have given a couple of those around 10-8s, right? Like they were crazy. We can only say that in hindsight. Nobody predicted Sean just outclassing Vera the way he did. Like we all knew Vera was going to make it a dogfight. We thought it'd be more competitive. We thought Vera would, I guess, throw caution to the wind a little bit, but he just couldn't get past O'Malley's timing, speed, spacing, and threat. It's just, mate, it was just, no one could have predicted the fight to be as one-sided as it was, except me, which I did.
I tell you what, though, bro, like, if Sean fights like that against his inevitable upcoming fight against Merab, I'm scared for Merab because Merab, as we know, he does like to throw caution into the wind. In 2 of his previous fights, he has almost been wobbled. He was almost wobbled by Cejudo. He cannot do that against this kind of Sean. He will be knocked out. Vera didn't get knocked out because his chin's made out of freaking titanium or Wakandan steel. But Merab cannot do that at all.
Yep. I wanted to say, like, I don't know if we touched on it at all, but I think Merab and Sean are a bad matchup.
Yeah.
I think Sean's spacing and just his creativity, and not to mention, Sean has the entire skill set, the entire arsenal. If you think he's not like going to be working straight line attacks, like that lead knee he did against Vera after he threw it in the 3rd or the 4th. He threw it in the 3rd, and that was only after he saw Vera shelling up and putting his head down. That was an adjustment on the move. If you don't think he's going to be working things like that for Merab, you're kidding yourself. Not to mention, like, mate, Sean found the timing slot against, Sterling, who is phenomenal.
Yeah.
I think, like, in that division, just how good he is. I think it's going to be a hard fight. But in saying that, Merab doesn't go away.
No, he doesn't.
Sits here like a rash. Let's say, hypothetically, he doesn't get caught on the way in or get pieced up on the outside, and he gets his hands on him. How does that look like? Does Sean survive it and then start piecing him up again? Or does it start to look like the Petr fight where he slows down a little bit and it becomes much more competitive? I don't know. But that's another episode, my friend.
It is another episode. We are
inevitably he's trying to get that fight with Topuria, right?
Oh, Dana shut it down. I don't know if you saw. Dana was just like, stop calling out people in other divisions. I think he pretty much implied you need to start defending these belts, right? Even Topuria said, and it's probably because he likes Merab because he's also Georgian. Topuria was like, you need to beat Merab first and then let's talk. But then also Topuria is being a bit hypocritical because he hasn't had a single title defense. And he's calling out Connor and I don't know. But Dana did shut it down, thankfully. So good on him.
I think, I reckon that could be because like the UFC don't want anything happening to Topuria before Topuria is going to be a big thing. And the UFC know this.
Yeah, but both of them, Rob. Like you've got 2 stars in Sean and Topuria. Yeah, why would you compromise
you
either?
Don't want to. Yeah, why would you lose one? Right? Why would you risk losing one?
Yeah,
and that makes
So let's see what happens, bro. We've definitely got to talk about Merab and Sean sometime in the coming months, whenever that fight is put together. Rob, next fight, I feel so vindicated, and you should as well. Dustin Poirier beat Benoit Saint-Denis by KO in the second round. What do you think of this fight, man?
Mate, old guard, right?
Yeah.
I said it. I said, like, I have absolutely no idea why he was an underdog. He was paying $2.80 on Unibet's numbers, which is crazy, dude. Like, because I had seen some of Benoit's moments when he's been rocked and wobbled, and he slows down, he gets a little tired, and I saw how he likes to explode. Like, he's a very big, powerful guy. He moves in and he puts a lot of people away in the first. But, mate, that's what Poirier eats for breakfast. He loves those fights where you come out guns a-blazing, he weathers a storm, and then he pieces you up, dude. Like, he goes nowhere. That's exactly what happened. Because, like, you remember the fight against Chandler? Remember every other fight he's had against a dude that goes in trying to take his head off in the first round. Like, he's used to that. The only thing I will say is, please stop jumping on guillotines.
No,
man.
He said he's going to keep doing it. He's going to keep doing it.
And I respect that more. But, dude, when I was watching it, every time we'd jump on, I was like, no, don't blow your arms out, man.
Dude, it was after the first round when his coaching staff said, dude, stop doing guillotines. And what does he do in the first 30 seconds of the second? No. He tries another guillotine.
Just
actually insane.
To be fair, a lot of those look tight as.
Like, they do, but he's never finished anyone by guillotine is what they were saying.
Yeah, yet, right? Yet. But, man, that was amazing. And, you know, I couldn't get over, like, the commentary for that fight. Like, they were just saying, Poirier's slowing down. Poirier's looking tired. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, the guy's in it, and he'll throw like that. That's how he fights. Like, that's how he looks round 1, 10 seconds in.
Yeah. As I said, I feel vindicated because everyone doubted Dustin. As you mentioned, he was the underdog. And I will admit, after the first round was so much pressure by Benoit. I was like, oh, is that setting the stage for the rest of the fight? But as you said, Dustin likes a dogfight, and that dude can freaking throw hands. Let's remember what he did to Connor. Let's remember what he's done in his previous fights.
I will honestly say, after that first round, I was so confident Poirier was going to win.
Wow, really? Okay.
So confident. Yeah,
right,
dude. Because,
fair.
Mate, if you go out as hard as Benoit did and you don't get Poirier out of there, Poirier's going to get you.
Yeah.
And let's not forget, and it blew me away, this was a 5-round fight, dude.
It was, right?
Yeah. Dude, like, he went so hard. Poirier's used to that, man. He'll keep that pace for 5 rounds easily. I don't know if Benoit would, you know, and so that's why I said, like, after that first round, I was like, yeah, Poirier's got this for sure. Like, I was confident. But then he jumps on the guillotine. I was like,
stop it. But it does, as I said in the last episode, man, someone thought I was trying to directly compare Benoit to Fiziev. That's not what I was doing. The comparison was, Fiziev was that guy when he first Gaethje, or he's the new up-and-comer, he could break into the top 5 or whatever at that division, right? And then he ended up losing. Very similar thing here. Dustin is the old guy. Benoit's trying to come up, and he's got pushed back down the card. That top 5 in that division, man, is just rock solid. And there's talks now, could Dustin, like, I don't think he should fight Islam, but it's in terms of timing, since Gaethje is about to fight Max, who's fighting Islam next? Could it be the winner of Oliveira and Sarukian? But that's pretty close to June when they're talking about the fight. Who knows? It's crazy now, this division.
Yeah, I think them giving Benoit Poirier was like, it was feeding the lines a little. Like,
you're right.
Because Poirier is, in my opinion, honestly, I think he's the hardest fight in the division, bar the champ.
Yeah.
I think. Like, him and Gaethje. But honestly, I know Gaethje beat him last fight, but I still think Poirier is probably a harder matchup for a lot of people.
That's fair. Yeah, I get that. Well, let's see what
Yeah,
happens,
so-
man. That fight hopefully can be arranged soon so we know what Islam is going to be doing next. But this was a very interesting fight, the next one down on the card. MVP Michael Venom Page defeats Kevin Holland by a unanimous decision. Tell me what you thought, Rob. I've got opinion,
Mate.
but give me yours.
Mate, it was like watching an anime fight. It was crazy. Like, they are so rangy and tall that they looked like they could hit each other when they were sitting on the stools, right? It was when they were standing up and like fighting, it just looked like there was no space in the octagon when they were fighting like that. Maybe it's because like the way Page stands and like he's got his arms out, so he takes up a lot of room. But mate, Page put a show on Holland.
Yeah.
Holland, obviously trying to prepare for someone like Venom Page is tricky because of how creative he is, as well as like Venom Page is fast, very fast, right? But I think his spacing and the length of his arms lead to it feeling or looking like it's faster than it even is. Not to mention it is fast though. So so he was landing shots left, right, and center. Then you mix him with his, if he's picking you apart from the outside, you don't really know what's coming. He starts using his creative stuff like that reverse elbow.
Oh, man. It's so brutal. And he kept landing it too. Far out.
On Holland's shit, you got to give it to Kevin Holland, man. Like Kevin Holland's head though. Like everybody in this division, in this card had like heads, right? It was crazy. But yeah, he was landing him. Holland had a really solid moment when he took advantage of Page's kick, pushed in, jumped on him, and kept him down, landing some big shots.
That's right.
I could see during the fight, Page doesn't like getting hit. Like he doesn't like you crowding, closing that gap and hitting him. You could see every time Holland would hit him, he would be like, "Oh, come on."
Yeah.
But then he would get his footing back, he'd get his rhythm back, start landing some big shots, get all his confidence back up, and then he was untouchable. But yeah, Holland didn't know what to do. Didn't know where to go. He looked angry.
By the end of it, he was like mocking MVP's dancing and all this showboating and everything. And it was a show, man. Like I enjoyed it. Like that kind of karate stance style, point style fighting. It wasn't quite what I expected from him for the whole fight, but it was fun. It was enjoyable. I would love to see him against like Wonder Boy or something like that next. I think that'd be sick.
Yep. Yeah, I think it was definitely a show. I expected that. Like that's how he fights.
Yeah.
Right. I thought Holland. I don't know. I said this in my predictions. I think Holland is like a perfect matchup for Page as a first fight. Like it's going to be a striking fight. Holland doesn't do anything crazy, doesn't explode super fast inside. Like it likes a fight on the outside because generally he has a reach advantage.
Yeah.
So this was and there's the element of wrestling isn't really there. Yeah. So I thought this was a perfect introductory fight for Page. Mm-hmm. But moving on, like how does he fight against someone like Gilbert Burns?
That's a good point.
Tricky, because whilst he'll find angles on Burns with his creative striking, Burns can close the gap, and he has wrestling. Yeah. Like how does he go against these wrestlers, these jiu-jitsu guys that will get in, will close the gap?
Yeah, well,
hard.
Speaking of the devil, man, let's talk about the next fight down. Jack Della Maddalena beats Gilbert Burns by KO in the third round. Man, I tell you what, and I'll let you know this. Gilbert Burns on 2 of the judges' scorecards was winning the fight at this stage. Jack had to get the finish or he was going to lose. Even though I thought he won the first, 2 of the judges had Burns winning the first. Yeah. So we needed to do this.
Yeah, I had him losing until he knocked out Burns.
Fair. Yeah,
I had him losing. But, mate, props to Jack. He did not quit till the fat lady sung, right? He stayed in it. He kept fighting the wrestling. He kept fighting the problems. Because Gilbert Burns, I would say, is one of the best MMA grapplers right now.
Yeah.
And Jack stayed in there. He was patient. He was calm. And then I'll give it to his instincts, mate. He saw that in the scramble. He saw that split second opportunity, threw it, and now he won via TKO, and he's probably going to be ranked number 3 in the world.
Yeah,
in that division, his rise would have to be super fast.
Dude, it wasn't even just the fact that he landed that knee in the third when he was losing. Like, that is a big enough thing on its own. But literally in this segment before, he was down. I think he had his back. The way that he was able to roll out of that and then have the instinct to land that knee onto Burns and then finish the fight at that stage, super impressive. I really wish big things for him in that division.
Yeah, and you gotta be proud of the Aussie, right?
100%.
WA kid, just battling on and taking on these bigger challenges, bigger obstacles, and performing. Congrats, man! Like a new era has come up for him and that division for Australian fighting.
That's 7 wins now for Jack in the UFC. So good on him.
I heard him, and he called out Shavkat,
and Shavkat said yes.
Yeah, like he's not looking for a title shot straight away. He's not looking for the easy route. And I like that fight for him. Don't get me wrong. I think Shavkat's a great fight for him.
A banger. Yeah.
Because like both are kind of boxy. Shavkat doesn't throw too many kicks. Jack's got the wrestling defense to deal with it. Yeah, I favor Jack in that fight for sure. But yeah, dude's got balls as well. So
I tell you what, though,
I'm stoked for him, man.
That could be like the fight that they actually do make next, just based on where everyone else is at. And Rakhmonov against Maddalena, man, I think that's a bang of a fight.
Yeah, so man. In Perth in August.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully you fight there. We got a bunch of Aussies fighting in Perth. Let's see. But next up, we've got Petr Yan against Song Yadong. This is another one where we went with the old guard. Petr Yan, after the first, again, another fight that I was worried how he was going in the first. He just switched it on come the second and the third. And Song just, whether he gassed or he just slowed down, I don't know how to describe it. But Yan showed why he was the champion previously. I
think Song came out super strong. He came out really well because he was mixing in, mate, his mixture of takedown attempts and punches was beautiful. Like, I've seen nothing like it. And his feints into shots to punches was so good. Song looked so promising in that first round. But, that experience of Petr come out and what I think really shook up Song Yadong was the fact that Petr started doing the same thing back to him. He started mixing up his shots with his punches, and that kind of shut down Song's brain. It looked like Song couldn't quite guess where Petr would come in or which way he was going, and he was able to land those takedowns, make it tiring, wear on him, then get back up and box him a little bit, then jump straight back into a takedown. Mate, it was so classy. It was crazy to see because Song had that strong first round. Yeah. Doing exactly that, mixing shots in with punches, with shots and feints. And then Petr just switched it on him. And Song didn't have an answer for it like Petr did.
The elbows as well. It was brutal, man. I felt bad for Song because I like him as a fighter. I thought he did very well against Gutierrez.
He was fighting so well.
He was. And it's not like he even made a mistake. It's just like he got a little bit gassed. He went so hard in the first. And Yan just outclassed him for the remaining 2 rounds.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. Like, I think people forget how good Petr is because like everyone's like, oh, he's lost all this fight. It's like, no, you forget how good he is, especially when he mixes in his boxing and wrestling. I think that's what his greatest strengths is having that mixture. Yeah. And he does it probably better than most guys in the UFC.
Yeah, for sure. So top to bottom, bro, what did you think of UFC 299?
Mate, what a stacked card. Like every fight was a banger. The longest fight being obviously the main event, which was like a striking clinic by O'Malley. And honestly, like I sat there watching it with my wife and she's like, she watches it, but she's not super into it. And like she was blown away as well, just how good that card was. It was such a good card. And the prelims and everything else was just so good.
Well, man, speaking of the prelims, we've got viewer questions. If you ever want to ask us a question, let us know in the comments below. But I've saved one of this for the question segment. We've got Craig Taylor asking the following. Actually, No, this is not him asking. This is him predicting. This guy, I literally saw his comment. He commented before the card, and he says this. Attention casuals. First off, Rob, you are the man and have so much support over here in America. I am writing this the day before the fight, but can you please talk about how Curtis Blaydes dismantled Almeida? You are a psychic, man, because that's exactly what happened in the second round. Oi, I speak on behalf, I think, of many people right now. I've criticized Almeida because I don't mind good wrestling. It's just that Almeida doesn't do anything else with the wrestling. He just smothers and wrestles and doesn't even throw anything, it seems like, when he's engaging in the wrestling and the grappling. But after that first round, Curtis Blaydes just came out and said, you know what, I'm just going to smack you with hammer fist. There wasn't even, what's his name? Almeida shot in, right? And Curtis was talking about how he used his belly to push him down to the ground. And there wasn't an uppercut or a punch that went into that. And then when Almeida was on the ground, all he did was just throw hammer fist and Almeida got knocked out cold. It was the strangest but greatest knockout I've ever seen. It was awesome.
I will say, I thought Blaydes was going to win this fight.
Yeah.
Because Blaydes is one of those guys that I watch fight and I wonder how he's ever going to lose. Like, I watch him fight and I'm like, no one can beat him or this style. And then he gets matched against a guy that literally hits like a 2-ton truck and gets clipped at some point because he's fighting dudes that are 250 pounds, right?
Yeah.
But, yeah, Blaydes is so well-rounded in that division. I still don't know how he hasn't been champ or is not champ yet because it's that sort of division.
I mean, I tell you what, so now they're potentially talking about Aspinall versus Blaydes. I don't know where Cyril Gane fits into it. We know that Stipe is going to be fighting John Jones at some stage. It's still weird to me to have an interim title defense, but potentially, bro, that could be the fight to make.
Yeah, it's tricky. What do you do?
Yeah. So next question we have is from Elderly Infant 3917 says, hey, Rob and Jonny, Akira Toriyama passed away recently. I know you're both big fans of DBZ, but I was wondering what your favorite moments from the series was. Also, what are some of your favorite non-DBZ Toriyama works? I love the character designs he made for video games, especially Chrono Trigger. Do want to say, rest in peace to Akira Toriyama. Honestly, I didn't believe it when I saw it, and everybody was giving him love for the huge impact that he's had on anime and just animation in general. How many people have been influenced by his style of drawing? And again, it's not just Chrono Trigger. He was making a video game recently called Sandland. That's still yet to come out. I'm so bummed about Akira. But in terms of the question, I would say the Saiyan Saga because of Gohan. Gohan was freaking awesome.
I hated Gohan, dude.
Why? Everyone loves Gohan. Sorry, Cell Saga, I mean. Cell.
He just cries and screams all the time.
But he beats Cell. Did you see the last movie with Gohan?
Baby.
Nah, Gohan in the last movie has got his roses. He's got this new power up called Beast Saiyan or something crazy. It was awesome. It was freaking great.
I've dropped the latest one. Like my knowledge really only goes up until probably the end of Boo.
Boo was pretty good. I like the Boo saga.
Like just the OG sagas.
I freaking love the Cell Saga.
My favorite part was probably, it's tricky. Probably when Vegeta goes Margin.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then does this whole, like, punches on with Goku. They make up, tricks him, tries to sacrifice himself, and nothing comes from it. Boo just brushes it. Boo just brushes it off, and Vegeta's dead.
The build-up that they did for that scene and how emotional the explosion was for it to literally result in nothing. I felt so bad for Vegeta.
And Vegeta's dead. It was so dog.
That was such a dope fight, though, between Vegeta as a Margin and Goku.
Yeah.
And Vegeta ended up winning, but... Oh, man, Akira Toriyama, rest in peace, man.
I don't think he won. I think they kind of just made up.
Yeah, it was a weird ending. It wasn't a proper finish.
And then he hit Goku in the back of the neck.
Yeah.
When he wasn't looking. And then went and blew himself up to no effect. Oh, dude, that's so dog.
But it's Dragon Ball Z. Like, eventually he came back. You wish anyone back with the Dragon Balls.
You know what? Was maybe even a better scene? When Trunks went Super Saiyan, not Super Saiyan 2, it's called like Super
The Trunks, Rage?
When he became, when he was fighting Cell, because no one had gone 2 yet, or Super. trunks, and he was jacked and massive and had longer hair, and it was like the first of that period. It was pretty nuts.
Hell yeah. So next question we've got is from Hyper, who says, question for Whittaker, would you entertain a Cannonier rematch as a title eliminator or a Khamzat fight if you don't get the Strickland fight?
It's hard to say. There's a lot of new people in the division. I don't know if we need to have rematches. It's not that I wouldn't. But there's so many people in the top 10 now. I don't know if that would be the fight to make.
Yeah.
I don't know how I wouldn't get the Strickland fight, really. I don't know. Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts right now in the top 5.
I mean, here's the thing, bro. If it was designated as a title eliminator, then it doesn't necessarily matter who you fight, whether it is Khamzat or Cannonier or whoever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's I guess is all I really want to push for is the title eliminator fight. Like, I just want to be in that conversation. I want to get that belt back.
Hell yeah. Well, let's see what happens. Again, aiming for Perth so I can go watch it. But next up, we've got Otacity says, question, Rob, what is it like to have the UFC embedded crew follow you around during fight week?
It's a little imposing. It's hard though, because they're just trying to do their job. So they want to film different things. And I feel bad from them a lot because fight week, all I do is just sit down and play video games. And they're like, you're gonna do anything else, Rob? You're going for a walk? You're going at the shop at any point? I'm like, nah, dude. Like, this is what I'm doing. I'll message her. So they don't really get a lot of footage from me.
That's pretty funny.
And props to the guys that cut it up and put it out. They make it look like I'm so much more exciting than I am. But I'm just sitting there playing video games the entire time. It is imposing because, like, it's hard to act perfectly normal when you've got a dude there with a video camera just watching you. So it's hard to like really relax, but you get used to it.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And finally, we've got NCR Ranger 5030. Do you two use summons in Elden Ring? Changes the entire game as well.
Yeah.
Do you summons, Rob?
Oh, hell no.
Yeah.
No. Like, nah, dude, you can't. You can't. You're playing a different game then.
Yeah. Are we talking about like NPC summons or like other players' summons? I'm assuming
the bell summons.
So here's the funny thing. I wanted to try it because I never really experimented with a feature before, but because I can't remember what the meter was, but it was so low that I couldn't really use the best summons anyways. So every time I use these little summons, they get like one-shotted and I'm like, oh, well, then what was the point of that? So I stopped using them. Because I found myself just wasting time using that little bell. You waste a few frames and you risk getting hit anyway. So I didn't find them that useful.
I think the introduction of summons was for accessibility for other people. Because but in saying that though, they don't make it, like you said, with the FP meter, and not having enough of it, they don't make it super easy for you to get the strongest summons.
Yeah.
But if you can literally get summons that'll fight for you, and you can just chill, sit down.
Well, that's what I heard. Like everyone was like, if you're having problems against Maddalena or something, apparently the Mimic tier summon, it used to be really good. It got nerfed, but it's still decent. And I was like, oh, okay, that would have been nice to know before. But, dude,
you play as a wizard with the Mimic tier summon, and it's stupid. Like it's so stupid, dude. It's a different playthrough. I think you should do a playthrough without it.
Yep.
And then you should do a playthrough with it. But then again, like if you want to play without it, jump into Dark Souls 3.
Yeah.
Jump into Dark Souls 2. Like if you want those sort of games. I don't know, it's fun. Play the game you want. Play the game
Question,
you want.
by the way, have you ever acted as a summon for another player to help with a boss? Have you ever done that?
Yeah. In the other games. In this game, I have. Oh, have I? No, not in this game. I've invaded heaps of people, but
I mean, of course you have. Yeah, I know you have.
Dude, but like in the other games, which work the exact same way as in this game, I've helped other people do bosses.
Fair.
Why is that?
No, I'm just curious because like I haven't done the mechanic. I feel like with my current build, I could actually really go in and help other players if I was up for it. But I don't know what to do, man. I'm at the end of the game before you, and I'm not going to talk about it, but spoilers, before you do the thing to potentially go to New Game Plus or keep playing in that world, I don't know whether to go to New Game Plus and just run to that playthrough so I'm ready again for the DLC, or do I just stay in this for the DLC? Because I feel like my build's so overpowered. I might need the buff to the enemies in New Game Plus to kind of make it a little bit more challenging. I don't know what to do. I really don't.
You should. What soul level are you? Are you above 150?
Yeah, I'm above 150. I'm like 160 or something like that.
So I cap my characters out at 150 all the time, and then
That's fair.
I just play PvP. I don't do anything else now.
Okay. Yeah. So you got a bunch of characters to rely on for the DLC.
Well, like I deleted a bunch. I've got 4 dudes. So I got my OG, the guy that I played through the game once.
Yep.
Like just default. Then I've got a dude that I call my samurai. Like literally go into PvP fights dressed in the full samurai garb with a 2-handed katana. I do that unsheath skill. And I feel like I get walked over, but it's funny. I try to pretend I'm a samurai dude, do the whole bow when it starts. It's sick. And then I have a guy that's like pure faith. And I try to, I use the coded swords, and I use the spells, try to mix them in to be fancy, and usually get stomped on as well. Yeah. And then I have my pure just brawler dude, mix between using fist weapons and curved scimitars and heavy clubs and unga bunga sticks.
Hell and, yeah.
Dude, he's the most fun I've had with a character, but he's my favorite guy. But you know what I think Elden Ring's missing? It's the option to new game without going plus.
I feel you. Yeah, you're right.
Because I would love to start a new game without making everything harder and just having all the items, because there are a lot of items you can either get one or the other, or you can only get one per playthrough. Maybe you want to dual wield them, right? It's annoying in that regard.
But also as well, like you try and play that game without a guide, you are messing up some quests. There is just no way you are knowing where to go and what to do with every single quest line. Especially like sometimes when you play, like, all right, I'll play Elden Ring and I have to do a few things for the next few nights and I'll go back and play or whatever. And then it's like 20 hours in my playthrough or several weeks in real time. I have to remember what this random NPC told me, and it was like a very cryptic hint anyways about how to do the next step. There's just, I don't understand how people figured out on their own how to play this game.
Souls games have always been not terrible, because I actually like the questing system, but they've always been like that. And it's like if you don't talk to this NPC after killing this guy, but before killing this guy, he's no longer there. And then if you don't talk to him, he doesn't show up at this part of the game, or he's now hollow and you have to kill him. Like there's lots of ways to. They did make it easier in Elden Ring to not screw those up, but the easiest one to screw up, which I know for certain you screwed up, is the crab, the boiled crab. So there's a guy in the second part of the game, in like where the university is, that sells boiled prawns.
Okay.
Right? And as a woman who's looking for a necklace, you have to buy the necklace off him, give it back to the woman, so that he leaves that position and goes to another position and sells boiled crabs, which when you eat them, give you a flat 30% reduction on damage. And you need those because some nerds drop them in PvP, and you need them. You just need them.
What the hell?
But like if you don't do it in that order, or you go and kill Renala before doing him, or you go to the snake's castle or whatever it is, the fireplace.
Oh, dude.
Before speaking to the woman, she's no longer there looking for a necklace. She's already at the castle, and you've screwed that up.
Dude, that's the thing. So that castle quest with Rykard, right? I was on a god-slaying tear. I just wanted to do a lot of the bosses, and I'm like, then I'll go back and do some of the quests. As soon as I killed Rykard, entirety of the Volcano Manor quest line locked out because they all leave.
Gone.
And I'm like, come on, guys. Just tell me. Give me a heads up.
You got to do all the parts for the woman to get all her unlocks first, and then she appears at the snake body trying to eat him. Then you got to kill her to get the extra... to get the armor, whatever it is. It's like,
I love the game. Don't get me wrong. I love the game.
It's always been like that.
But I think it needs some sort of quest log, just to at least give you a little reminder. Hey, this is what you did. At least this is what the NPC said to you. It doesn't need to be more than that. But so you can try and track what you're doing. There doesn't need to be quest markers, but something. I don't know.
I can see where you're coming from, but I got to disagree because like that's how they've done it since the dawn. If you'd have
that doesn't mean it shouldn't
uprising,
change, Rob. You know,
they've changed heaps already, and you already see your purists having a go at them. Like,
true,
calling
you're
everyone
right.
Casuals. You don't want to split the divide anymore, right?
That's a good point.
Like,
next time that I play the game, I'm gonna do it. I want to follow a guide because I just want to finish everything. You know.
Yeah. Just you can look at it. It's like progression guides. I think that who is it? Extra Life. They're great on that sort of crap.
Yeah.
And I will say though, the people that comment down the bottom of the Extra Life guides of like, oh, this is wrong. Oh, you left this out. Dude, it's a wiki. Grow up. You're lucky it's there. Like, what do you write in your notepad to your right and make your own friggin' wiki? Like, what is it? How dare you? How dare you? Get off these guys, man. You say thank you for doing anything because I wouldn't make a guide for you. Right?
That's fair.
So I had to get that off my chest because that pissed me off.
That's all right. That was the last question of episode 34 of the MMArcade podcast. As mentioned, shorter episode because I'm going to keep packing after this. But Rob, man.
You see his boxes in the back.
Yeah, I do. You literally can. So my gaming PC is in that box right there because I wanted to be protected in the move. But straight after this, I'll edit this episode and tomorrow is a big truck coming to my apartment. It's going to be fun.
Right. I wish you safe travels.
Enjoy
the drive.
All 12 hours of it.
Yeah, right. And thank you very, very much, guys. Thank you, Jonny, for cramming this episode out. We told everyone we wouldn't do it. So please like, subscribe. You know, Johnny's on above me off for this one. Otherwise, see you guys next week.